Welcome to Season 2 of the Therapist to Millions podcast, where we get under the skin and into the brains of leading therapists and coaches from around the globe to find out what makes them tick and how they are helping those on the front lines of mental health around the world. Hello and welcome to the Therapist to Millions weekly podcast, where we get into the brains and under the skin of the best and leading therapists all around the world. And all the way today from Florida, we've got Karen Koenig, who is a licensed psychotherapist, motivational speaker, and international award-winning 8-book author. She is prolific, who has specialized in the field of compulsive, emotional, and restrictive eating for more than 30 years. She's based in Sarasota in Florida. She is the co-founder of the Greater Boston Collaborative for Body Image and Eating Disorders. And as a writer, her essays and articles have appeared in a multitude of publications, including the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald. And she's been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, no less, and Women's Health, amongst others, and has had her books translated into, get this, 10 foreign languages. Karen,
wow.
A huge welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm well. Thank you. I'm delighted to meet you both.
Well, we cannot wait to dive into your prolific writing, but let's start with obviously, the type of therapy that you practice and what's the background? How did you get into that?
It's a personal story because I was a chronic dieter since I was little. I deprived myself of food, and then I would overeat, binge, and I did that through my 20s, and finally got into therapy after I was bulimic for about a year and a half. And, I'm half a lifetime. I'm 76. I just turned 76. I'm half a lifetime recovered. And I went back to social work school to learn how to teach others to do the same thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's exciting. So it sounds like you've had a lot of life experiences that have shaped your work as a therapist. Are there any specific experiences that you want to share with us that have contributed to your work and where you are today?
I would say this is a funny story. When I was at camp, I don't know, I was maybe a teenager, and I barely remember it, but people remember if you were in camp with me. I would sit on the back step and people would wait to talk to me, teenagers. I have no idea why. Believe me, I was not that wise, but I must have been wiser than them. And I dispensed advice. So I sort of think I must have been meant to be a therapist. I was an elementary school teacher, a copywriter, a traffic manager. I did lots of other things. And then I went back to school late. I was about 40.
So give us a little bit of a description about the type of therapies that you practice, the type of modalities and techniques that you use.
I used to say I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. And then I realized it was much too narrow. And I practice some what's called rapid resolution therapy. If y'all don't know about it, Google it. It has to do with being in the present, not in recall, but you got to be in reality and knowing the difference. So I do that. I do couples, family, individual, in my office, post-COVID, and a lot of teletherapy. And I'm pretty eclectic. I'll do whatever works.
Well, we're going to get onto the books in a minute, because obviously you've got 8 best-selling books and award-winning books. So let's just talk about your therapy practice for a moment. What's the biggest challenge you're facing in the therapy world or in your practice at the moment?
It is really hard for people to, one, accept themselves if they have eating disorders and are higher weight. And I'm very fussy about language. I don't say overweight or fat, neutral terms, lower, higher. It's very hard to move from having an overeating disorder to eating normally. It just takes, not for everybody, but for many people, it takes a long time. And it's a tremendous amount of work, changing not just your eating, but your entire life. the way you talk to yourself, your relationship with people. Sort of like you have to throw out all of it and rebuild.
Yeah, so it's the way you talk to yourself and the way you help them. Do you use affirmations? Do you help them develop self-love, higher self-esteem? Okay, no, what is your approach?
No, well, for instance, one thing I do is people always say, oh, I need to do this. I should do it. That external pressure, external motivator. So I do this with them.
Oh,
I have my little sign, and I have the words that they are better off not using: should, have to, must, can use from internal: want, desire, prefer, a lot of positive words. So I don't do affirmations. And, you touch on something. It's hard to get people who have not been loved well to love themselves.
Absolutely.
So a lot of work on self-compassion. Kristen Neff's fabulous book on self-compassion. And slowly, people change in spite of themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we found too, as therapists, it's so hard to look after our own mental health when we're working so hard to keep other people healthy. How do you look after your own mental health? And do you have any tips for mental health in the world today?
I'm lucky to have my father's genes, which I call the happy genes. My mom was very anxious, and I don't have that. So I think a lot of it really is genetic. I'm sort of an optimistic, upbeat person. I try to tick off all the boxes. I love to write, so it's wonderful. I can just say, oh, I want to write a blog. I blog a lot. I have about 1,800 blogs. So,
wow,
that's a pleasure.
Wow.
Yeah.
I take hula and tap on Zoom. I take at least 1 or 2 dance classes. I exercise every day for about 45 minutes. I have lots of friends. I have a wonderful husband. I don't know that there's really anything else. I mean, I feel fortunate that I'm comfortable financially. So, life is not perfect, but it's our job to make whatever we have okay, because why wouldn't you?
Right.
I love that. You live in Florida and you dance. That's all you need to know.
Right.
Yes,
Damien,
but
can tell you
indoors.
about that. Yeah.
Right.
Sunshine and dance.
Too
There
hot.
you go. It's done.
Too hot outside.
Too hot. Oh my goodness. So we're in the UK, so we're not used to heat.
I know.
Uh-huh.
I know.
Using
I lived in Boston,
hypotheticals.
so I know cold.
Yeah. Well, there you
Sorry?
go. I actually do like the cold, but it's usually when there's snow and you can go skiing on it. That's different.
Yes. I'm an ex-skier. I loved it.
Oh, skiing and dancing. I love it. Now, using hypotheticals and no identifying factors, what's an example of a really good success story that you've had in your practice?
Well, it's one that just happened last week or the week before. So people who diet are just used to being told what to do, right? I mean, if I do this, I'll get what I want. And it's not just about dieting, it's the rest of their life. It's sort of how they're brought up. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of me there. It's always you tell me. So I have a client who has been doing that for the longest time. She's read every book, listened to every podcast, taken the courses. So she said to me, I just want to find out what I want for breakfast, how much I want to eat. And this was a revelation, and it's just been so helpful to her. And she's done it in a lot of other areas. Sometimes eating is the last to go. So it's just been great to see her tuning into herself. Mm-hmm. It sounds so simple, but as you both know, it's sort of an end point. It's not usually a starting point.
Right.
Would you say that self-love is like the cornerstone of all of your work?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, isn't that for all of us? We want to love ourselves. And sometimes as a therapist, you're the first person to really love and value who's had a rough life.
Yeah.
And it's just by that process that they start to see value in themselves. It's a gift we give people.
I agree. Self-love and turning anger and fear into love. Yeah. So,
compassion.
Right. And as far as marketing your practice, what has been your most successful marketing technique to help you grow your practice? And what are your plans for expansion in the future?
Well, it's definitely a two-part question for me because I've done a lot of interviews. I've written articles. Writing my books has helped get my name out there. And as for the future, I'm actually semi-retired. I'm not taking new clients. I'm promoting my books. That's what I want. I have another book that I'm wanting to write. Of course, you need time to write a book, and I haven't had time. And it's on pride, which to me is the underrated emotion, because we're all brought up, don't be too proud of yourself. Don't boast. And I think it's exactly what we need to feel truly proud. And so I've outlined my next book, and that's the direction that I'm going in. Hopefully, I guess writing more.
Love it. Okay, let's talk about books, because obviously you're a prolific award-winning writer, and the books have been obviously a mainstay of your practice. Where do you get your ideas for the books, and then how do you develop those ideas? How do you put them together into a finished product?
The ideas just come to me. I think this is what people need. And so I started with my first book, which was the basics of rules of normal eating, just the basics. How do you know you're hungry? How do you know what you want to eat? How do you know when you're full or satisfied? And then a little while later, I thought, gosh, there's this whole emotional piece. You can't eat normally. So then I wrote the Food and Feelings workbook. And then I noticed that I have mostly female clients, no surprise, in the eating disorder world. All these, I was doing a workshop and I went around the room, I said, for 8 women, tell me something that a quality about yourself. And they all went, I'm nice. Eight times around the room. And I thought, this is not, you got to be color with more than one crayon here.
Right.
You got the whole box. So I wrote Nice Girls Finish Fat. So, and then I realized people needed life skills and then self-talk. So my last book is Words to Eat By. And then the other book was about intrapsychic issues, people not wanting to give up being fat because it means they have problems, and people they suffer. I mean, it's really the underlying stuff. And then I wrote 2 books for practitioners. So as long as the ideas keep coming, I'm in luck.
Right. Wow. That's fascinating. You've really touched a lot of people through your books, especially if they've been written into 10 languages. That's pretty impressive. So,
well, not all of them are in 10, but it's a total of 10. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's really been exciting for me.
Right. And you mentioned Christine Neff. Tell us a little bit about the best therapy books you've ever read and why. What are some other books you have followed and enjoyed?
I was just talking with a client about one of my favorites, and they become favorites because they're the recent ones. And it's called Us by Terry Real. It is a great couples book because it speaks to the men in the couple.
Oh, right.
It's usually the women. They're dragging the guys, right, to couples therapy. But this one is just remarkable with how many of my clients' partners or husbands have changed because of it. It's a great book. He's written a lot of others. And my favorite other book is a recent fiction. I read a lot of fiction. Demon Copperfield by Barbara Kingsolver. I just wanted to do nothing but read that book, and it's a sort of takeoff on David Copperfield. It's Demon
Now, you mentioned that you were thinking about another book already. So can you tell us what the title is, or are you allowed to do that? Do you ever to release your title?
I don't know what the title is. I have lists of titles.
Yeah.
Whenever
wow.
I'm in a waiting room at the doctor's, I write down something. At some point, it'll just come into my head, and it'll, hopefully be the right titles. I've been very fortunate to come up with interesting titles, and I've outlined it, and it's a lot of research. That's the part I don't like. So I might, if I can farm that out, believe me, I'll try to. But and I don't know when I'll do it, but I'll do it at some point.
How long does it take you to write your books, roughly?
Do you know, when I was younger, I could do a rough draft in a week.
Oh, wow.
Really? Wow.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, I would just get up and write, eat, write. Now that I'm older, several weeks, maybe a month.
Still good.
A whole month.
Yeah.
Well, but they're not long research books. I mean, but that feels like you get up every day and that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels very doable to me. And I don't know if you know the author Annie Lamott.
No.
Anyway, she wrote a book called Bird by Bird, which is about how to write a book. She talks about shitty first drafts. And that's what you want. You want not a lot of effort. It can be really crappy, but you just want to get it down. So I followed her way of doing it.
Yeah.
So somebody else might take longer because it would be more perfect, but I'm not into perfect.
Well, I'll tell you, a month is still pretty good.
Yeah. We've
I
had
guess.
that analogy many times. Yeah. That you don't edit as you write. You do the stream of consciousness kind of thing, and you get it all out. And then when you get to the end, you go back and perfect and edit. Yeah. We have heard that, and we have recommended that to a lot of our clients who are writing books. Yeah. Damien has helped 4 different people so far, maybe 4 that I know have become Amazon #1 bestsellers.
6 now?
6 now.
That's
6.
great.
Yeah.
Happens quickly. Yeah.
And we're working on another one at the moment. So,
Nice.
and this one's a fiction.
That's wonderful.
This one's a fiction. It's actually an allegory, so it's interesting.
And you get to read them.
I do, yes. And this one's even more interesting because my daughter is on the front cover.
Oh, nice.
She's on the front cover of the book. Yeah, it's and the children are actually the ones that end up saving the world. So it's an interesting book. And in terms of your plans for the future, you say you're semi-retired. You love writing books. I've got to ask you this question. What do you think of? I mean, we use things like ChatGPT as inspiration. We use it as it comes up with ideas, and it's really, really useful. Have you used artificial intelligence? Are you using it in any way?
If I am, I don't know I am. No, I have an extremely active mind. I don't have enough time to do all the stuff. One day in about 1 year, I wrote 10 songs. I failed music. So that tells you how unmusical I am. And they just poured out of me. Wow. And then I had to stop because I wanted, I had to do other things. So I have, the only thing I want to do is take a sculpture class. Because I did that once and I loved it. But I'm just really happy living my life as it is. I feel very lucky to be creative. I don't know what people do their time if they're not, but
Yeah.
So I feel the future will have other ideas for me as well.
Well, Karen,
you certainly helped a lot of people. Yeah,
you have helped so many.
Thank you.
I mean, your author page is fantastic. We're going to share that in the show notes together with your YouTube channel, your LinkedIn, your Facebook as well. So we're going to share all of those links. Do you have audiobooks versions of your books at all available?
For a few of them, I do.
Okay. So
I haven't really followed that. So it's sort of like, and you hear this from writers. I know you do. I've written it. on to the next idea, right? I'm not somebody, I mean, I promote my books, but my juice comes from writing the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, I appreciate what you do. I mean, look at all the people that you serve in very short spans of time, but really, as you said before, multitudes.
Well, this is it. And I think because the world of mental health is becoming, I think, more mainstream. I think, sort of 20, 30 years ago, it was a bit of an add-on. Whereas nowadays, it's like going to the gym. I mean, people, I think, are realizing that having a mind gym is the same as, working out your mind is exactly the same thing as your body. And why wouldn't you want any help with that? Why wouldn't you want a personal trainer for your mind?
Exactly.
Mental fitness.
Absolutely.
Mental fitness.
Karen, you're an absolute enigma. We love you. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with us. And we'll look forward to sharing all of the links to your work. It's absolutely fantastic, and we appreciate you for everything you've done and are still doing in the world of mental health.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do you want to give us your website?
Sure. www.karenrkoenig.com.
Okay.
Fantastic. And we'll put all those links in the show notes as well.
Good.
Okay.
Karen, thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Bye now.
Take care. Bye. Bye. If you would like to take part as a guest on the Therapist to Millions podcast, simply email me, Damien@therapisttomillions.com. That's Damien with 2 A's. As all of the guests on the show will get 3 months free access to our Therapist to Millions membership worth $300. So if you would like to know how to write a best-selling book, secure a TEDx talk, create membership sites with content you don't even have to create, build client acquisition funnels, effective lead magnets, or your very own podcast, and way more besides, why not head over to thetherapisttomillions.com and join our community of like-minded professionals? And if you'd like an additional $20 off your membership, simply type in the coupon code PODCASTLISTENER at the checkout.